The forest held its breath. Snow crunched underfoot, the only sound piercing the stillness. A lone figure trudged forward, eyes fixed on the path ahead. His name was Thomas. He walked with purpose, driven by a primal fear, a desperate need to escape the creature that haunted his waking hours and seeped into his dreams. For weeks, Thomas had been running, not just physically, but emotionally, trying to outrun the darkness that threatened to consume him. What he was fleeing wasn't a tangible being, but a specter born from the depths of his own psyche. It was a monster that fed on his guilt, a monster known as the Wendigo. In the heart of winter, when the world turns cold and desolate, the Wendigo emerges. This isn't your typical monster. It's a manifestation of insatiable greed and the darkest desires of the human heart. The creature is said to lure its victims into the snowy wilderness, preying on their fears and leading them astray. Thomas's story started in a small town nestled amidst the snow-laden pines. It was a place where winters were harsh and spirits were high, or so everyone thought. Beneath the town's placid surface, a darkness stirred, a darkness that would soon engulf Thomas's life. He'd always been a hunter, thriving on the thrill of the chase, the camaraderie of his fellow hunters, and most importantly, the bounty that sustained him and his family. But this year, the hunt had taken a sinister turn. It started subtly, a deer missing, another one vanishing without a trace. At first, the townsfolk dismissed these incidents as the work of wolves, or perhaps a bear with cubs to feed. But as the weeks passed and the missing animals piled up, fear began to grip the town. Superstitions arose, whispers of the Wendigo spread, and the townsfolk grew uneasy. Fueled by their fear, they turned to Thomas, renowned for his skills and bravery, to slay the beast. Eager to prove himself and quell the town's fears, Thomas readily accepted the challenge. Armed with his trusty rifle, he ventured into the snow-covered woods, determined to emerge victorious. He tracked the beast for days, following the scant clues left behind. Each footprint in the snow a cryptic message from the elusive creature. But as the days turned into nights, and with no sign of the Wendigos, Thomas's confidence waned. On the fifth night, as he sat huddled around a small fire, the wind carrying the scent of pine and snow, he heard it. A guttural moan echoing through the silent woods. Hope surged through him. Finally, he would find his quarry. Following the sound, he came across a clearing. In the center stood a magnificent deer, its antlers crowned with snow. Its eyes, however, were unnerving, glowing an eerie red in the darkness. And then it spoke, its voice a chilling rasp. "Do you seek the Wendigo? Then eat my flesh and drink my blood, and the spirit will be yours." Thomas stared, his instincts screaming at him to flee. But his desire to prove himself, to slay the Wendigo, held him captive. With trembling hands, he raised his rifle and fired. The deer collapsed, but as it fell, it transformed. Its body contorted, antlers shattering, fur ripping. From the creature's chest emerged a horrifying visage, emaciated, eyes burning, and a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. The Wendigo lunged, and Thomas found himself face to face with the embodiment of greed and despair. He fired again, but the bullets seemed to have no effect. The Wendigo snarled, lunging closer, its hot, fetid breath washing over him. Terror gripping his heart, Thomas fled. He ran through the dark, moonless forest, the Wendigo's guttural laughter echoing behind him. Branches whipped at his face, but he didn't dare slow down. As dawn broke, casting an anemic light through the trees, he stumbled out of the forest, collapsing on the soft earth. Panting, he looked back, expecting to see the Wendigo emerging from the trees, but he saw nothing. Shaken, he returned to town, the encounter a haunting memory. But as days turned into weeks, he noticed unsettling changes in himself. His usually strong hands trembled. His sleep was filled with nightmares of the Wendigo, and he found himself consumed with an insatiable hunger. One evening, as he sat alone in his house, the wind howling outside, he felt the presence of the Wendigo envelop him. The hunger within him grew, overpowering his reason. He realized with a sickening certainty that the Wendigo had claimed him, not by defeating him in the forest, but by corrupting him, turning him into the very thing he had sought to destroy. Trapped in an unending battle between his humanity and the Wendigo within, Thomas knew he couldn't stay in town. Fearing that his transformation would corrupt others, he packed a bag, his rifle, his most prized possession, and disappeared into the snowy wilderness. He wandered for weeks, surviving on meager rations, the endless snow-covered landscapes blurring into one another. He was a shadow of his former self, his eyes hollow, his movements listless, the Wendigo's hunger gnawing at him constantly. One particularly frigid night, seeking shelter, he stumbled upon a small cabin nestled amidst the snow-laden trees. Hope surged through him. Perhaps here he could find warmth. Perhaps he could delay the inevitable. But as he stepped inside, he felt a sense of foreboding. The cabin was empty, yet it felt heavy with menace. The floorboards creaked ominously, and shadows danced menacingly in the flickering firelight. As the night wore on, the wind screaming outside, Thomas huddled by the fireplace, trying to ignore the scratching sounds above him. Then he heard it again, louder this time, accompanied by a heavy thud, fear constricting his throat. He grabbed his rifle, creeping towards the attic stairs. Each step creaked ominously, amplifying the pounding of his heart. As he reached the top of the stairs, the scratching stopped abruptly. Suddenly, a floorboard gave way beneath him. He tumbled through the darkness, landing with a painful thud. Gasping, he scrambled to his feet, his rifle clattering to the floor. In the dim glow of the moonlight filtering through a grimy window, he saw a pair of eyes, glowing an eerie yellow, stared back at him. A low growl rumbled in the creature's chest, terror gripping his heart. Thomas stumbled back. He tripped over a loose floorboard, sprawling on the dusty ground. The creature advanced, its eyes never leaving him. Desperation clawed at Thomas. He fumbled for his rifle, firing blindly into the darkness. The creature snarled, disappearing into the shadows. Thomas emptied his magazine, the shots echoing in the confined space. Then silence. He sat there, his rifle useless, the echo of his gunfire ringing in his ears. Slowly, he rose to his feet, his gaze sweeping the attic, searching for any sign of movement. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the grimy windows, Thomas cautiously descended the attic stairs. Each step echoed ominously in the silence. As he reached the top of the stairs, he turned, his gaze drawn to a dark corner of the attic. There, partially hidden in the shadows, he saw it. The creature lay on the floor, its form emaciated, its eyes glowing faintly. With a jolt, Thomas recognized the creature. It was the Wendigo, but something was different. Its form flickered, wavering between solid and translucent. A wave of understanding washed over Thomas. This wasn't the Wendigo he'd encountered in the forest. This was the spirit, the essence of the creature. And as Thomas watched, the Wendigo's form began to fade, dissolving into wisps of smoke, leaving behind a faint, unsettling chill. Stepping over the creature's still form, Thomas descended the stairs, his gaze fixed on the floor. The fight was over. The Wendigo was gone, but the battle within him had just begun. He emerged from the cabin, blinking against the bright sunlight. The forest seemed different now, the trees more menacing, the shadows deeper. But he didn't hesitate. He had a long journey ahead of him, a journey not just through the snowy wilderness, but through the desolate landscape of his soul. As he walked away from the cabin, his shoulders slumped, his eyes devoid of hope. The forest whispered around him, its secrets echoing in the rustling leaves. For deep in the woods, in the heart of the snow-laden pines, the Wendigo stirred, waiting, biding its time until it could claim him completely.